Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Coaching Experience Show. I am your host, Coach Keisha, and I am so excited to be with you today. Um, this discussion topic today is it's a sensitive topic, very sensitive for me. And today's topic is breaking the silence, abuse. I was thinking to make this a series, such as a 4-part, but I believe this is going to have to be an ongoing series. So stay tuned. I just want to do an introduction today to talk about abuse. What is abuse? Abuse is a word that is kind of thrown around a lot in conversations. And individuals really, truly don't know. Some individuals don't know what defines abuse. What is abuse? Because we want to ensure that individuals know what abuse looks like. What is abuse? What are the signs of abuse? Everyone's experience is different. I, myself, being a Christian counselor, do not downplay an individual's story. If someone comes to me and say, Keisha, I am being abused, I can't say, no, you're not. And some individuals, they do talk about abuse. The reason why I use the word thrown around, because some individuals just talk about the word abuse and they really truly don't define it. Or they talk about the abuse, however, they don't know the exact signs or how to help someone if they are talking about abuse and someone mentions it to them. They don't know how to, they may not even know how to handle that. So this is why I say abuse is a word that sometimes is thrown around in conversations. We need to really, really, truly define abuse and talk more about it. We must break the silence. We must break the silence. Because we don't want to just throw this word around and say, oh, someone's being abused, someone may be abused, but what are we going to do about it? How are we going to educate the next person or other individuals so that they can know what abuse is? Because if you just throw out the word abuse, some individuals don't know what that means. So today I'm going to, again, it's going to be an ongoing topic series. And I want to define abuse. The definition of abuse. Abuse is defined as any action that's intentional. He or she or someone intentionally harms or injures another person. That's what abuse a definition, just a simple definition. It is a simple definition, but it could be a very damaging action. In my eyes, it is a damaging action because I've dealt with abuse. God has delivered me from so much abuse. Actually, He has delivered me from a recent situation that has happened not too long ago. And I am so grateful. I am trying not to cry. So I'm just letting you all know that I am a crier. So there may be times on the show as this series move on going forward with this series that some of the topics that I speak on or some of the things that I talk about is going to touch me. And I will shed some tears or shed a tear. There are different forms of abuse. Different forms of abuse. And I just want to bring some of those forms of abuse to your attention. There are many kinds, again, of abuse, and these are the kinds of abuse: physical abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse. There are many forms. There's elder abuse. And these types of abuse, again, are very, very much needed broken down. It needs to be broken down. There needs to be a breakdown. So, as a coach, as a minister, as a Christian counselor, I want to be able to break this down and educate. I will be bringing experts on the show to talk about this as well. Have some discussions and bring this to the light. Some people are suffering in silence right now. Why? Because they're afraid of speaking out against the individual who he or she, whomever is abused or is abusing, causing the abuse. They're afraid to speak out because they could be threatening them, threatening the family, threatening a friend that they will hurt a friend, threatening that they'll hurt a family member. And yes, they could be threatening a family if they know of the abuse, because we don't know the mindset and the actions of an abuser. We can never say that they would never do this, they would never do that, because this is how the abuse gets looked over or looked at as oh, they're not gonna, I just don't believe they're capable of doing this. And we become blinded. We turn a blind eye to the abuse, to the abuser. Because when someone has abusive behaviors, we in my profession and those who are counselors, etc., as we know, we see so many abusers that. So let me go back a little bit. With abusers, with their behavior, I call it defiant. They can be very defiant. And with that being said, most don't care about rules. They do not care about rules. Rules to them is not for them. Some think that behaviors are okay, and some has gotten away with some, and I'm not going to say gotten away with it, but has been looked over or downplayed. So when this happens, most of the time they go about their abusive ways without being held accountable. So they go and they continue the abuse. And this is a cycle. And with that being said, they move on to different victims. And on the outside, they show a different light. And I'm not going to say a light, a different picture. They paint a different picture to those on the outside. They may be your politician that's feeding the homeless or going door to door, speaking to individuals. They could be your healthcare worker. I'm sorry, y'all. There could be your healthcare worker that is an outstanding nurse or an outstanding doctor, and they save lives, and then they care for their patients. But when they get home, they take that built up anger from their trauma that's built up inside of them, and they drop it off at home or to those who are close to them. They dump it. And when I mean dump, I mean they say things to you that's hurtful. The physical abuse, they can harm you, hit you. This is why I say so many times, individuals that do not know, because, when I grew up, abuse was truly thought of as just physical, someone hitting you. No one ever educated and talked about the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the the verbal. So if a person didn't hit us, we're not being abused. Again, some people are suffering in silence right now. Some people are suffering in silence. Why? Because they're afraid to speak out, shame, threaten, or in fear of getting him or her in trouble. And it's more, and I want to also talk about and point out narcissistic abuse. I'll be talking about that as well soon. But that type of abuse is a soul infection. It causes a soul infection. It is truly I would say, part of spiritual abuse. I'll get more into it, but that type of abuse is truly piercing the soul. And that's why I want to go in depth with especially that, because a lot of individuals don't want to talk about narcissistic abuse. Or you have those who say, again, because there's a difference when you say thrown around, it's in a manner of, people talking about, but then you got individuals that say narcissistic abuse is the word narcissist is being thrown around, that every time someone acts in the manner of what we define a narcissist, they'll automatically say this is a narcissist. It is far beyond that. This type of abuse, it pierces your soul. It causes a soul infection, and I'll talk more about, because I know some individuals are probably saying, "What does she mean, a soul infection?" This type of abuse pierces every single part of your body, and it is a type of abuse that you're going to need a lot of spiritual healing. You're going to need God. We need God always, but we have to really truly go to him. He has to act as our big physician. He has to be the big doctor, the chief of staff of your soul during this period and moving forward. So sometimes when people are being abused, they blame themselves. They blame themselves for the abuse, but I'm here to tell you, it is not your fault. You are not responsible for an abuser's actions or action. Yes, we have to hold ourselves accountable because we made a choice. But I must let you all know today that I hear too much of, well, they showed the signs, why didn't you leave? You knew about this before. Someone gave you a hint. You didn't take heed. It is far more than that. Because when it comes down to abusers, they're very manipulative and they are somewhat strategic with their abuse. They've been doing it all along. They are criminals in my eyes because it's like they test different waters and see how far they can go, and they document. And I'm not saying they take a notebook out and document, but you never know. But they take note of what they can and what they can't do, or they take note of everything that they do, because In my eyes, the abuser is truly in the army with the enemy. They are instructed by the enemy. They are shown the tricks, the tactics by the enemy. And that is to kill, steal, and destroy. Most abusers, from my experience, they speak death and they walk in darkness and they don't want to see the light. Most abusers that I have encountered or spoke with individuals that I counseled or coached, these individuals truly, I would say they truly enjoy it. And, I get questions like, Takesha, do they know what they're doing? I would say 85% to 95% of the time they do know. Now, if they try a new technique or they truly, because they are not emotionally there like we are, they may not be aware at the time, but you believe that when they realize it, they know it, they can use it as another tactic to use on someone else or even yourself. It's very calculated. And you have to be able to truly, anyone that that I speak with, I always say, for the victims, that they will have to go to individuals that truly know about this type of abuse or about abuse. And for those who are professional or know about the abuse, they need to be very careful, or individuals in a whole, individuals collectively has to be careful what they say because to the victims, because they can't get out of that situation or they don't know how. So we have to be very careful how we speak and how we handle certain situations, even if it's not abuse. I would speak more on it. But I do want to say that abusers purposely abuse. And it's not just women, because we often hear about us women being abused. Men are abused as well. I love this topic, breaking the silence, because when it comes to men, most men do not speak on this. They don't like to bring it up because it depends on their environment. They may think it's okay, some of them, and some are worried that they'll be looked down at, that someone would look at them as not being a man. So I want to talk about that as well, because as women, we need to be more supportive. I'm not saying we're not, but we need to allow ourselves to be open so that more men can come out and speak. Because our generation now and moving forward, the children, the people, need to know. They need to be educated. Because we are breaking chains, we are breaking generational curses when we speak and we use our voice. No matter how afraid or what we think is going to look like, we have to be a witness. And we have to tell our breakthrough. We have to tell, we witness our breakthrough. We witness how God delivered us. And we need to show individuals this so they can know that there's a God. There's God out waiting for us to say yes and wanting a relationship with us. That there's God, there's Jesus, there's the Holy Spirit right there with them. They're not alone. We want to give these individuals hope. And guess what? Guess who God uses? Us. Us. So again, today, I talked a little bit about the definition of abuse. And I just talked generally about abuse. But I'm going to go more in depth as the series, with the series moving forward. So stay tuned, because I will be speaking more about this, because it's a much needed conversation. It's a discussion that needs to be in every home. Man, woman, even children, even the children. I love you, and I will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Coaching Experience Show. Again, I will see you next week. Bye.